Good morning. This is Jana Simon with the Illinois Public Health Institute. I think we're about ready to get started with today's webinar, Pump Up PE, Ways to Effectively Engage Parents. So to kick us off is Mark Pasakovich from the American Heart Association. So Mark, why don't we go ahead and get started?
Excellent. Thank you, Jana. Hello, everybody. My name is Mark Pasakovich. I am the Director of Government Relations for the American Heart Association and American Stroke Association. Over the last couple of years, I've served as the co-chair of the Illinois Alliance to Prevent Obesity work group that is focused on physical activity and nutrition in schools. The official name of the work group is the Childhood Nutrition and Physical Activity in Educational Settings Work Group. It's a long name for a relatively short agenda, which is doing everything we can with our coalition partners who also serve on the work group and the entire coalition to preserve quality daily physical education in all schools in Illinois. We've been fighting the good fight for years. As many of you know, there are efforts to cut back on PE almost every year in the legislature. We anticipate having to fight the fight again this spring coming up in the legislative session. PE is really important, and unfortunately, not all of our policymakers and education policy folks really own that and understand that. But PE, physical education, is obviously important for health. But beyond that, PE is also important because research shows that it improves academics. So fit kids learn better. Fit kids also behave better. So PE has become not just a health issue, it's also an academics issue. It's also a national economics issue because the cost of health care is exploding in large part due to obesity and fitness-related illnesses, chronic diseases. Recently, or last year, we even learned that quality PE is a national security issue. PE is patriotic. Why? Well, because our senior military officials are telling us that many kids who want to go into the military aren't fit enough to serve. And so PE is important to our country, and certainly important to the American Heart Association and to IAPO. And so we're delighted to be able to host this seminar today. And I'm really happy to be able to thank the PE teachers who are online now and all other physical education professionals. What you do is really important. And I say that not just as a representative of AHA and IAPO, I also say that as a father. What you do is incredibly important, and it's up to all of us to make sure that society and your customers, the parents of the kids who you teach, also recognize the value of PE. Now, it's unfortunately not good enough for many of you to just be an excellent physical educator. You also have to be advocates. It's very, very important for our key customers, that is the parents, and more broadly the taxpayers who fund education, to recognize why PE is so important. And it's also important for them to recognize that it's not your grandpa's PE. It's not even your dad's PE. It's not dodgeball. More and more physical education really reflects a health club rather than a dodgeball game. But we really cannot count on others to make the case for us as to why PE is so important. And so today we're going to focus on communicating the value of physical education to a group that we think are your biggest potential advocates and partners for ensuring that every kid has high-quality PE, and that is parents. As a parent, I can tell you that when I have a note come home from any teacher, including PE teachers, it's the first thing that I pay attention to. And any success of my child, small or large, goes on the refrigerator to be displayed before the whole world. And so hopefully today we're going to be able to work with you a little bit to help you enlist your main customers, the parents of your kids, as advocates for your physical education and for physical education in general. So thanks again for being here, and more importantly, thanks again for what you do. And now it is my pleasure to introduce Sandy Noel. If I had to describe Sandy, who is a retired PE teacher, I would probably say she is the PE teacher's PE teacher. And one of the people, I think, principally responsible for the high support for PE that we have in Oak Park, where my kid goes to school and where Sandy taught. So, Sandy, I turn it over to you, and it's an honor and a privilege to serve as a co-chair with you on the IAPO work group we co-chair.
Thank you very much, Mark, and I'm ready to help everyone educate up as we did in the Oak Park schools. Now, I've been a physical educator for over 40 years, and I believe that it is crucial that we communicate the importance of physical education, physical activity, and nutrition to parents, local school councils through the following ways. We can add things to the school newsletter. We can send letters home. We can have bulletin boards so that when parents come into the school, they can see what we're doing. We can write letters to local newspapers, and we want to communicate what is being taught in PE. We also want to invite local legislators into our classes. We want everyone to know that PE not only teaches skills, but also health-related fitness, conflict resolution, and the knowledge to make informed choices about personal health and wellness. We can send home, as we have done, physical activity fact sheets. As Mark said, we can correlate the connection between activity, academic performance, behavior, and overall health. This is really important for school boards and school councils to get that connection. Family fitness tips. We can encourage parents and kids to enjoy physical activity and fitness as part of a fun daily routine. Like in Italy, go for a walk after dinner. Park far away from your destination. Get in those 10,000 to 15,000 steps a day. Always take the stairs. Have a family dance party and do my favorite homework for the kids. If you watch television, the first commercial, jog in place. Second one, do sit-ups. Third one, do push-ups. Fourth one, stretch. You are not going to believe how many exercises you can get in during one program. Another way to get parents involved is parent-student activity nights. It's another opportunity to shine a light on your program. Play enhanced PE games where everyone is involved in having fun. Play games from our manual, Get Fit and Flourish, to communicate health concepts through movement. During the winter break and spring break, you can create a calendar of wellness challenges and reinforce health concepts such as sleep, nutrition, hydration, and exercise. Give them challenges during the day. Eat breakfast and add a fruit. And remember to include a social emotional component, such as compliment a family member every day. I think this concept is really important. Do we live what we learn, or learn what we live. A college student recently checked himself into the hospital with scurvy. Apparently, the paper pencil health classes that taught him the importance of proper nutrition had no practical meaning for him. His medicine, orange juice. This case reinforces how important it is to provide experiential, meaningful opportunities to students throughout the school day and at home so that students actually can live what they do learn. One of the ways is non-food rewards. We want to promote intrinsic instead of giving food as a reward. Giving food, which is usually pop, candy, it undermines nutrition education. It encourages the consumption of high sugar and fat foods, and it teaches children to eat when they are not hungry to reward themselves. So we want to perhaps give 5 minutes of extra recess as a reward for motivating the kids. Birthday celebrations that focus on the child. This is nutrition education as well. We surveyed all the students in the district. Did you have a family birthday party with cake? 100% yes. Did you have a kid's birthday party with cake? It was 98.6% yes. Well, if you didn't have food at school for your birthday, what would you want? They wanted their name read during morning announcements, a birthday ribbon, bring in a birthday book to donate to the library and maybe read it with the class. But the most popular one for the older kids was a no homework pass on my birthday. This got rousing applause when Katie recommended that we do that. Now, celebrations that include nutritious foods and physical activity, those are also nutrition education. For Halloween, our students did the Monster Mash, they did the Skeleton Macarena, naming the bones, and played Ghostbusters tag. In the class, they ate witch's fingers made from carrots, created a veggie skeleton, and a guacamole graveyard with crackers as headstones. Nutrition education happening during a celebration activity. Another way that we want to promote physical activity is through fundraisers. Jump Rope for Heart is a good example, and school fun runs. You will hear more about this later in the webinar from Martha Carmen. Health fairs for family and staff get everyone on the same page as interactive stations teach participants about nutrition, hydration, and exercise. They're learning as they're playing and being active. Oh, food tastings with a chef. Chefs are rock stars, and many are willing to come to school and teach students about healthy eating, and with the students, create a dish to taste. When the students are involved in creating a snack or a meal, they take ownership and they take that recipe home and encourage their family to try that with them. Of course, they have to make it because they have the expertise. But how do you get everyone on the same page? We're going to assemble a wellness team. PE teachers are really the focal point to building a wellness team. We need to help create buy-in, providing all the stakeholders with an opportunity with information and to become involved. Our principal, the principal is the key to implementing a school wellness plan by making physical education and wellness an integral part of the school culture for both students and faculty, and by providing activity breaks at faculty meetings and encouraging healthy food options at these meetings as well. The teachers learning this and living it, then they are the link to success of school wellness. By acting as role models, taking activity breaks in the classroom, using recess as an incentive and not rewarding students with food, teachers help students to live healthy choices. Our school nurses work hand in glove with physical educators to provide current health information. They connect with classrooms as well and help plan health fairs. Parents, it is crucial to get the parents involved. Parents do work with parties, and we need to have them help plan and implement parties, health fairs, and fundraisers. Working together creates an understanding of the importance of wellness and a chance to be creative and collaborative while planning these events. the students. They are our best advocates for our program. They always have creative ideas for activities and for food. The veggie skeleton idea for the Halloween party, that was a student. The no homework came from Katie in 4th grade, who is now a freshman in college. Stay tuned to this webinar because you will also be hearing from one of our best student advocates, Eric Shackelford, later in this webinar.
Great, thank you, Sandy. So our first speaker from who will talk about specific things going on in their schools and the importance of that is Dan Phelps from Hononegah High School. So Dan, you're on. I think we'll test your sound real quick. Can you speak for a moment?
Yep, can you hear me okay?
Yep, great, thank you. So go ahead and take it away.
Hi everybody, my name is Dan Phelps. I'm an assistant principal up at Hononegah High School in Rockton, Illinois. I spent the first 9 years of my career as a physical education teacher. So this is my favorite area to speak on, quite frankly, is different things in physical education, and engaging parents is pretty big for us, and something that we've made changes over the year, and some things we're doing some neat stuff with this year. The vision you see on our screen right there in front of you, we established this when we became a PEP grant school 3 years ago. We utilized components of data and research, professional development, family inclusion, and community factors to enhance the central focus on curriculum instruction. The overall end goal you see there in red is that improved culture surrounding health, fitness, and overall wellness for our students, faculty, staff, families, and community. I know a lot of schools at times have issues with culture surrounding physical education. And one of the biggest reasons for that is not the teacher's fault. It's not really anyone's fault. It's just the perception that parents have of physical education because they base it on their experiences when they were in school. And that's why we know how important it is and why it's so important to get parents to understand exactly what we do as physical education teachers. The slide that's up there right now is just our design, and you can kind of see how we model this and what we look like, what we try to follow as we build our curriculum. Right on the left side of your screen, though, family inclusion, and on the right side of your screen, community relations. Those are the two pieces I'm going to speak about here briefly with you guys all today. Groups to consider. This is 2 slides here, and I think we need to remember that you guys aren't on your own. I know that lots of times, too, as physical education teachers, sometimes if you're here listening to this webinar, you might have a person or two in your department that you feel like is not on your side. It's important to get that person on your side. It's important to educate them just the same as the parents. We know that a teacher can't move forward without their department. A department can't move forward without their faculty, and a faculty can't move forward without their administration. I know Sandy just spoke on that, how important it was to have administration and faculty members on board. But overall, a school cannot and will not move forward without the families of their students and that community in their corner. They're one of the most important parts and one of the top stakeholders you're going to have to advancing your program and getting the most out of it. The groups you see on the screen right here, this is what I'm going to talk to you about today. This is a short little overview. We're going to talk about family and inclusion first. We're going to talk about community and faculty staff inclusion. And I'm going to wrap up. I've put a PDF on here for you to look at the end, and it's going to describe what we did for a process in terms of involving the parents with fitness data. And this was actually taken from Unit 5 Schools in Normal. And I'm going to share that with you today, how we're looking at putting it into place here at Hononegah. The family is the first part that's up there. The first and foremost is you want to be able to share that experience with them. A lot of different ways you can share the experience. Sometimes it just starts with a phone call and an email. It sounds very basic. But I've been able to see a lot more in my new role as assistant principal here and seeing how many and sometimes how few teachers take the time to call home. Put in that extra effort, make the phone call, send the email. You can do, a lot of you are probably on Google now. You might be using Gmail or Google Calendar or Google Classroom at your school. Get the families invited. YouTube and podcasts. I'm not sure if anybody has taken the time to work with YouTube or develop their own podcasts in PE. Great models for a flipped classroom as far as teaching your kids the cognitive domain of PE, but also a good way to share that experience home. It doesn't necessarily have to be of your students participating in PE, because I'm sure a lot of you have districts where you have a no photo or no video policy of your students without particular waivers in place. So it can be just to yourself, even giving a quick overview of what's being taught during the week. classroom invitations, especially if you're at the elementary school level, and also we've had it here at the high school. Take the time to invite your families into your classroom. Let them see what you do. Let them see what happens. It's going to answer a lot of questions on their end. It's going to give you a great time to develop that relationship. And the next one I want to talk about real quick is student portfolios. If you're collecting fitness data, which I know soon we all will be, in part, certainly thanks to the Illinois Public Health Institute with the new fitness bill, as you're collecting that data, I strongly encourage you to do something with it. The state's going to want that data, but more importantly, if you're collecting data on your students, it's important that you're not only educating the students on why you're collecting the data, but how you're collecting the data and involving them and letting them know what the next steps are. Educate parents on that, on what you're doing with it and why it's important. You want to give them multiple opportunities to be involved. Consider the calendars of families. Not every family is the same. We worked at a school or with a school that decided that they would have open gym evenings every Tuesday night, the second Tuesday of the month, or every other Tuesday night, I think it was. The problem was there are some families that consistently work where both parents might work on a Tuesday evening. We don't think about that because we have teacher schedules, which lots of times are pretty convenient. Think about mixing that up so that maybe the families that couldn't come the first time will be able to make it the second time. Schedule multiple family nights, multiple family inclusions. And I mentioned before, try to avoid that same time slot. You'll see on your screen where it says learn about them. Your teachers know all about you. Their kids talk about you, sometimes both good and bad. They read about you on the school website. Your teacher knows quite a bit about you from the materials you sent home. Find ways to learn more about them. This can be through classroom invitations. This can be through something like a survey on Google that you can put out for them to fill out. Figure out what their interests are. You'd be surprised, or you may not be surprised, how strong the interests are right now on health and wellness throughout our whole country, and a lot of parents have those, and you may be teaching something that's right up their alley. And figure out what their perception is on PE and fitness. They may have a real positive perception. They may be huge advocates for what you do with your program. Get that input. Maybe they have a negative perception. Maybe that's something that you can be doing on to work with them to change that. And find out what they do for a living. You'd be real surprised that some might be in the same field that we are when it comes to health and wellness. They're just not physical education teachers. They might be a major advocate and a major contributor to come in and talk to your classroom. The last part is educate them. One of my favorite lines to hear when I would have parent-teacher conferences was, quote, "Wow, I didn't know you guys did this in PE." Or lots of times it was, "Wow, I didn't know you guys did this in gym class." That's a fun thing to hear, and it's very rewarding. But you got to remember that because health and wellness is so popular and so trendy right now in our country, we got to think about where some of their fitness information may have come from. It might have come from an infomercial at 2 o'clock in the morning. It might have come off a magazine from a rack at Walmart. It might not be the best stuff. And so as you're educating your kids, be sure to find ways to educate your parents too. You never want to belittle them or make them think that they don't know what they're talking about by any means, but share that education with them. Lastly, it's got to be huge for you, and I'll touch on this at the end. You want to build that culture. Make your families the cornerstones of your program and make them proud. Have them be proud that their son or daughter is a part of your program, that they're bragging about you when they're out. The community, faculty, and staff portion, we've grouped those together. You can split community and faculty staff apart, but in these regards, you can kind of put them in the same area. The first two bullets, they look real similar, but they're actually quite different. It says, provide opportunities for the community to be involved in your PE program. And on the flip side, provide opportunities for your students to be involved in the community. We did something at Hononegah. We started here 2 years ago called the Hononegah Physical Education Speaker Series. We've now had 3 speakers come out to Hononegah and speak. We used monies that the school had to invite professionals out. It was open to all community members. We would advertise it amongst teachers in the northern region, obviously students, parents, family members, anyone in the community. At our first, we had attendees ranging from 5 years old to 93. And the only reason I know 93 is because it was my because it was my grandfather. But find times to invite them out. We're real proud, and this is not to put a plug in for Hononegah, but if you're familiar with Dr. John Medina, he'll be speaking here at Hononegah on Monday, April 18th. And while the school is paying for that, for him to come out and speak, it's free to everyone. We decided that we're in public education. It should be free, and we want to make it free for the community. If you use technology, a lot of you might use activity monitors, pedometers, heart rate monitors are real big now in schools. Put together a showcase where parents can come in. We talked about the activity nights. Have a time for them to come in and see how you use it. Wellness Expo was something that we ran here as well, where we brought in multiple vendors from anything that ranged from a registered dietitian, nutritionist, to different local gyms, activity centers, Lower Kids, Catch the Wave as a swimming organization. We brought in the different health services, financial planners, all sorts of stuff regarding wellness for students, for community. But again, lastly, it's public education, so do what you can to keep it free. As far as your program in the community, see who's out there that can assist you in teaching your students. If you're talking about heart rate telemetry with your kids, if you're teaching heart rate, if exercise physiology isn't something that you're fresh on, find a professional that is, that can not only meet with you and help you with your professional development, they can come in and talk to your students. Figure out who's got different content knowledge in different areas like nutrition. Nutrition sometimes in the past has been left out of PE. Again, that's something that Sandy did a great job of speaking about earlier. See who can come in if you're not real comfortable talking about it, and then educate yourself. And the last one is, where can you take a field trip in physical education if you want a day where you get out of the school? We had the opportunity to take a group of seniors to a couple different health clubs down at Normal West High School before I came to Hononegah. It was a great experience. It allowed them to see what took place outside of our school walls in terms of exercise on their own, what's out there, because not all the time we don't have quite the facilities that a lot of these places have. You'll see on there it talks about, again, lumping your faculty, staff, admin into this category. You'd be surprised sometimes how many teachers don't know what goes on in your classroom. And that can be rough for you sometimes. Go and see them and invite them to see you. If there's one thing I've taken away this year, too, from being an administrator, it's how beneficial it is to put yourself in as many classrooms in the school as possible. Teachers like being observed, especially by their peers. Pay it forward and go and see what they're doing. I guarantee you'll learn some good stuff, even if that teacher's in social studies and mathematics and English, and then invite them so they can see what you're doing. And invite them to work out with you, too. Whatever you're doing for the day, you've got a lot of teachers at your school that do exercise. Students love working out with their teachers, and that doesn't matter if it's elementary, middle school, or high school, because they know that their teachers are watching them too, and they like it. If there's the one thing we know about kids is that the main focal point in their life right now is themselves, for better or for worse. So they have no problem working out with staff members, so invite them in. Again, we talk about building a culture, make them a cornerstone of what you're doing, and make them proud. The PDF file that you see up on the screen now, this was a three-phase plan we put together down in Unit 5 Public Schools, that's McLean County in Normal, Illinois. And this was shared with the Wellness Committee when I was teaching down there before I came to Hononegah. It's been revised since to work more with our district. And the plan was it was a program for connecting parents with their children's fitness data. So again, this is just one area to connect with parents. But we knew that if we were going to start testing kids on data, and for us the big one was body composition, we knew how important it was to test on body composition, but we were determined to make sure it was done right, and we were determined to make sure the parents understood what was going on. So I won't read through the entire document for you. I'm pretty sure this is in the PDF that was sent home, but just understand that the first two phases were heavily laden with parent education, making sure they understand what those 5 components for Health Data Fitness really are. Explain how you're teaching them, how are your kids being developed, and then talk about how they're being assessed. It's one thing to tell a parent that you're doing the PACER test. It's another thing to tell a parent how the PACER test works. It's a whole other thing to explain to them why you're using it and how it's going to benefit their kid down the road. Once the parents see that data, you can tell a kid that right now they might not be in the healthy fitness zone, and when you tell a parent that one of their questions is going to be, okay, so what are you going to do about it? Explain to them how you use this data to drive your curriculum. And going back to when we talked about the student portfolios and profiles, that's going to be real important. That's a big responsibility on our end as PE teachers. If we're collecting data, again, we've got to do something with it. Use it as a teaching tool. Don't use it as a grade. We know we don't want to grade kids on what their fitness scores are because there's too many variables that come into play that we as PE teachers simply can't control when it comes to health and fitness. But we can help them maintain and achieve and enhance, and that's our responsibility to track and to again share that with the families. You can see on phase 3 right there, the first bullet point here at Huntington, we use Polar GoFit for our heart rate telemetry, and we were looking into a company called Focus Fitness who has a software package called WellNet that we'll be developing our fitness profiles off of. How can we share that, email that out, and partner that with our learning management system to make parents aware of it? So in a nutshell, that's kind of some of the different steps that we looked at for that as far as connecting the parents. So to wrap up, remember that you work for the students and you work for the communities. And it's a lot different to think about when you say we work for them, we want to give back to them, than when you hear the age-old saying that parents pay our salaries. Think about it this way. Think about how we can give back to them. The more we can partner with them, the more they'll understand what we're doing. And then once they see the value in what we're teaching them, they'll believe that too, and they'll be on board. And again, you're going to wrap up and you're going to make them proud. And that's the thing that's going to continue to enhance your program, which is going to make it better for your kids. So that's what I've got for you. If you have questions after this, feel free to ask. Please do.
Great. Thank you, Dan. So next we have Martha Carmen from Edison Park School, who will be talking about how she's engaged parents there. So Martha, go ahead and take it away.
Hi, this is Martha. I'm the physical education teacher at Edison Park Elementary School in Chicago. I've been working as a PE teacher for 10 years, and I've been at Edison Park School for the past 8. Today I'm going to tell you about some of the things that we've been doing at Edison Park School to engage parents and to create a whole community that really values physical education, health, and wellness. When I talk about all the things that we do, remember that it won't happen overnight. I've worked for 8 years to make all this happen, and I think that it's really great to have goals for the things that you want to happen at your school and then take baby steps year by year to get there. I'm super passionate about PE, and I recently completed my master's in exercise science. And I think one of the keys to being engaging with parents about PE is to also be knowledgeable about the current topics in PE. I did my master's thesis on how exercise impacts cognitive function and conducted research at my school. It was really great to be able to share data that I collected and information about the topic with my school and my community. Keeping up to date with PE topics can also help start conversations with parents. I think establishing a wellness team is a great first step to getting parents involved. When I started recruiting for our school's wellness team, I had the principal send out an email to all the parents explaining what the wellness committee was and the different opportunities on how they can get involved on the wellness committee. Our wellness team at Edison Park is made up of the 2 PE teachers, another school staff member, and 9 parents. We also always invite the administrative team to our meetings. I think that it's a good idea to invite administration to your meeting so that they can get involved in wellness also. Our wellness team assesses strengths and weaknesses related to wellness at our school, and it also creates wellness goals for the year. I think that the most important part of the wellness team is needing to inform the rest of the school community on things that they are working on. Our wellness team publishes a quarterly newsletter and provides a report at our local school council meeting and our PTA meetings. Keeping everyone informed about what the wellness team is working on really helps keep everyone involved in wellness at our school. Another way to engage parents in PE is by planning events for families. Every year, we host a family fit night at Edison Park. This night is an opportunity for parents and students to come back to school in the evening and participate in fitness and health-related sessions. We have tables set up in the hallway where parents and students can find out about different health resources in the community. The most important thing to think about when planning an event is publicizing your event to make sure that you have a good turnout. We send notes home about the event, have announcements about the event during morning announcements, and we publicize the event on our school's website. You can also motivate families to attend by asking for donations from local businesses to have a raffle at the end of the event. You can see some of the examples of sessions that we had was Zumba, yoga, Kids Club workouts, game show nutrition, smoothies, an Xbox Connect dance party, a basketball clinic, and a hockey clinic. Another event that we have at our school for families is our neighborhood 5K. When we plan fundraisers for our school, we try to stay away from unhealthy food fundraisers and stick to fundraisers that align with our wellness policy. In order to get families ready for the run, we had a Couch to 5K training program and a Girls on the Run program. We also had a kids dash after the race so that everyone has a chance to participate. It's really great if you can also inform local newspapers about events so that community members know what's going on at your school also. We also try to find ways to celebrate PE at Edison Park. And every year we celebrate National Physical Education and Sports Week the first week of May. During the celebration, we work with the rest of the enrichment team to schedule students 60 minutes of PE every day during that week. Having events like this are a great opportunity to get parents in participating with students or volunteering to help out at stations. It's also a really great opportunity for kids to go home and tell their parents about what they're doing in PE. Another in-school event that we have every year is our school walkathon. A walkathon is a fun event to raise awareness about health and wellness while raising money for your school or even more specifically for your PE program. We plan our walkathon on Halloween and use the slogan, walk first, candy later. We've found that having our walkathon on Halloween helps to minimize classroom parties with unhealthy treats. This is another event where parents can come and participate with students or volunteer to help. This is also another way to get families talking about wellness. Finally, I think communication is the key to keeping parents engaged. I like to post information on our school website about what's happening in PE. I also like to post pictures from class. Kids love to show their parents pictures of what they're working on in PE. I also post a quarterly update on what's happening. This is where I can inform parents of upcoming events like fitness testing, share activities families can do related to what we're working on in class, or share PE and sports opportunities that are available for students. These are just some of the ways that we get parents engaged at Edison Park School. Next up is Timothy Sanborn, who's going to talk more about parental engagement in FitnessGram.
Great, thank you. Dr. Sanborn, go ahead.
Okay, so I'm Kim Sanborn. I'm a cardiologist at North Shore University Health System. I practice primarily at Evanston Hospital, but I've been involved in some community health initiatives in the city of Evanston for a number of years. I'm also the chairman-elect of the Illinois Advocacy Committee of the American Heart Association. So I'm going to go through some history of what District 65, which is the elementary and middle schools, has done in terms of fitness. For a number of years, they've participated in the National FitnessGram program, as well as the Presidential Youth Fitness Program. FitnessGram is a national web-based fitness assessment software. It tests 5 health-related fitness components that are related to improved health. It uses an educational tool to set fitness goals, check progress, and increased fitness level awareness. And it's also used to identify those that may be at risk for preventable diseases, whether they are underweight or overweight. The actual tests, these are national tests. They're called PACER, curl up, push up, sit and reach. We also measure height and weight. And here's a quote from the former U.S. Surgeon General. As other speakers have indicated, the child must be healthy to learn and learn to be healthy. Next slide. And this is taken from the FitnessGram brochure. Upper left, you can see a young student running for the PACER. And then there's the sit and reach, upper right-hand corner, the curl up, bottom left, and the push up, which is bottom right. Next slide. the students are compared to a criterion which is referenced from national standards. It's based on gender and age, and importantly, no students are ever compared to each other, and they're not graded on their results. Next slide. This is an example of one of the FitnessGram reports. After completion of this analysis, this goes out to the parent, and as you can see, students can determine whether their pacer, curl up, push up, extension, etc., has improved compared to the previous test. And in Evanston, they test the students in the fall and then again in the spring to see if there has been any improvement. Next slide. In Evanston, as I said, they've been doing this for a number of years, and back in 2013, there was a little bit of concern because some of the reports were going directly to the students rather than to the parent. They were concerned that students may be labeled or it may have a negative impact on them. So we developed a series of steps. First, in the summer, the Wellness Committee met and developed protocols for how the FitnessGram will be conducted, how parents will be notified, and communication with the parents. There was also student education programs and teacher training. A letter was sent out by the principal in September. In this letter, parents could opt out of the BMI. We also had a parent night where we demonstrated this testing to the parents, and they could participate in this. One of my colleagues, Dr. Lynn Shehab, made a presentation on the importance of physical activity. The testing occurred over about a 2-week period in October, and then the scores were sent to the parents. General discussions, but not comparison of one student versus another occurred. And then over the school year, they had 3 fitness days per week. They would practice pacer every 2 weeks. They practiced the curl-ups and push-ups monthly, and the flexibility was tested weekly. In April, another parent letter was sent out, and then the final FitnessGram data was obtained in May and then reported back to the school board. Next slide. This is an example of what one of these parent night itineraries was, with the test demonstration and the presentation by Dr. Shehab. Next slide. As I said, age and gender were used to reflect the natural development trends for boys and girls. It was very important that privacy was ensured. So these students were weighed on a regular position scale in a private area. The students were informed of the results and that it would be available on FitnessGram for later review. The results were not shared with the students at that time. Next slide. And this are some graphs from the CDC, and it indicates how various zones are calculated. So if somebody is above the 95th percentile for height and weight, they're considered obese, whereas if they're above the 85th percentile, they're considered overweight. And this is true for boys and girls. Next slide. These are some of the results that we had in 3 test periods so far. You can see curl-ups are pretty, 85% of the students were in what's called the healthy fitness zone. There was some improvement in their push-up strength. Pacer was about the same, and flexibility, maybe a slight decrease over these 3 time periods. Next slide. We did see that about 65% of the students were in what's called the healthy fitness zone. There's actually a decrease in the percent of students that were overweight, obese, remained pretty constant at about 14%, and very few of the students were underweight. Next slide. This is just a bar graph showing that of the over 2,000 students participated in FitnessGram, about 14.7% were considered obese, greater than 95% of the height and weight measurement according to the CDC, whereas a national study reported about 20% obese. Some of this may be due to demographics in the city of Evanston, but it is a pretty mixed social economic community. At least FitnessGram may be helping them with obesity. Next slide. If students did require additional support that was available, the school nurse also assisted parents in getting healthcare support should their student be underweight or obese. And once again, parents could opt out of the BMI testing if so desired. Next slide. This is just an example of some of the one of the letters that would go out to the parents describing how to log in to the FitnessGram website to see their child's results. Next slide. This is kind of a busy slide, but it also talks about whether there was a needs improvement or a healthy risk category, and if they wanted, if they had a regular pediatrician, they were asked to go see that pediatrician. And if they needed any assistance, the school health office would help them get additional pediatric counseling. Next slide. This is actually part of a larger scale program that we have in Evanston. They've initiated bike lanes and walking paths for the last 9 years. We had a program called Women Out Walking. It's a 12-week walking program to encourage women in Evanston to lead healthier lifestyles. And they now have about 1,000 women signed up for this program this spring. There's also a substance abuse program at the high school. Tobacco 21 is part of another one of our health initiatives. Evanston was the first community in the Midwest to raise the age to buy tobacco products to age 21. And again, working with Lynn Shehab, who's a pediatrician at the high school health center. We're starting a Rethink Your Drink campaign to address sugar-sweetened beverages. And this is actually going to be initiated in the physical education school curriculum. So the physical education instructors are very excited about this. A pilot program at one of the elementary schools show that the simple educational program can reduce sugar-sweetened beverage consumption in a matter of about 6 months. Next slide. I think that's the conclusion. Oh, just a map to show all the bike routes that we have in Evanston. Thank you. I think that's it.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Sanborn. Great. So our final speaker for today's webinar before we jump into some Q&A is Sandy Shackelford, who is a parent from O'Fallon, Illinois, and I believe we may also have her son Eric with us today. So Sandy and Eric, I will turn it over to you if you want to go ahead and unmute yourself and get started. We're still waiting for you to unmute yourself, so *6 one more time. Sandy, are you there? All right, well, while we wait for Sandy to figure out her piece, we will go ahead and, if you want to start typing in any questions you have for our speakers, please go ahead and do so. We will get those answered during our Q&A session, so take a second to type any questions into the chat feature of the webinar, and we will take those at the end. Sandy had been put herself on mute, so we're just waiting for her to, I think perhaps the technology might be a difficulty. So Sandy, again, it's *6 to unmute yourself, and hopefully.
Can you hear us?
Yes, that is great.
Hello?
Hi, can you hear us?
Great. You can hear us?
Yes.
Hello, can you hear us?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Okay, great. Sorry, we had two phones open, and I think that prevented us from getting on. First of all, my name is Sandy Shackelford. I'm a parent, and yes, my son Eric is with us, and we've been listening into the webinar. Excellent information, by the way, from everybody. To give you a brief intro, again, we are just a parent. I am in no way a professional speaker. My son will be speaking some, and he is much better about it than I am. We will be discussing our family background, why PE, recess, and physical activity are important to us, why we got involved, what happened, the school situation, his speech, and my son will give his story. Our support, this was a team effort by many, and we only played a very small part. How we were engaged, got involved, providing testimony, proactively working within, and navigating the system to address and oppose our waiver. Helpful tips for engaging parents, which of course you've had many, but ours were firsthand experiences with the people we were dealing with, including our PE teacher, Mrs. Eiskant. Eric was the main speaker through this process. My role was just to prompt him with questions. Eric, can you introduce yourself?
Hello. Sorry if my breath is a little heavy. I just did some physical activity because it helps your brain think better. As you have already heard my mom say, my name is Eric Shackelford. I go to Fulton Junior High, O'Fallon, Illinois, District 90. And I am highly supportive of PE and physical activity, and that's why I'm speaking to you here today.
Eric, can you hear Eric?
Yes, that is great. Thank you.
Great. Eric, can you share the ending of your speech as you spoke in opposition to the waiver?
Sometimes in life you come to a fork in the road, and there's always a wrong way and a right way. You have to choose the right path and take a step forward. The wrong path at that time would have been approving the waiver that would have denied PE in our school district and a step backwards. This is about me and kids like me. You need to teach me PE so we can teach others PE, because we are the future.
Thank you, Eric. Our family background. What we found is we're often shaped by our past personal history, and you talked about different parents and why they might or might not be engaged. To give you a little bit about our history. My mother, Eric's grandmother, was a PE major. I was by no means a competitive athlete, neither was my father. But our whole family was fit. Our lifestyle was hands-on, engaging, and very physically active with lots and lots of variety. TV and screen time was minimal and discouraged. Healthy eating was encouraged. We were actively living our lives and having fun doing so. We did well academically. We were social. We were learning, and PE, physical activity, and learning went hand in hand. As an adult, I had worked as an activity director, which you all might be more familiar with the term recreational therapist. I work with seniors in the healthcare industry. I worked alongside occupational therapists, physical therapists, nurses, social workers, physicians, and dietitians. I also did some programs with the local farmers market in health and nutrition relating to the food in the farmers market. My husband, he's a software computer developer, so we are not anti-tech. As older parents, though, we were pre-technology. We were before the pre-technology boom. We saw technology as a tool, an awesome tool, but still a tool. We came from a generation of kids that appeared to be less sedentary, much more active naturally in and outside of school as we ourselves were, and in our opinion, appearing much more fit and healthy overall. Granted, there are many fit, active kids and families and some excellent programs, but after not being around children much for many, many years, it was fairly surprising to us how many kids were obese, appeared to have coordination, balance, motor skills, and what appeared to be strength, muscular, and physical development, and overall health, cardio, lower energy, and stamina issues. We were surprised by how the kid play and school culture had changed. And we also had bought into the social, emotional, cognitive leadership development for kids as well. And we also saw some of what you talked about as far as the physical cost on our communities of an unhealthy future population. You asked us why PE and physical activity were important to us. I guess we would just say it's really about holistic thinking, which I think obviously everyone in your group has. We supported both recess and unstructured play and physical education, as we felt both had unique benefits and one should not replace the other, and preferring a balance. We felt physical education is an invaluable part of the solution and not just a special or an extra. We felt it was needed in our schools for its current and long-term benefits, and it appeared to be needed at an early age more now than what it was when we were young. Its effect in developing lifelong healthy habits, it's a partnership and an extension and development of our teaching at home. Eric will highlight some of those benefits later as he speaks. Why we got involved. We were supporting our son, his future, and his and our beliefs. Our concern was that the approval of the waiver removing PE and what was actually occurring was sending the wrong message and had the potential for a real and lasting negative impact on Eric and these kids and the way they might view physical activity moving forward. Sorry if my voice cracks again, I'm not much of a speaker. Physical activity for kids mattered. Quality professional education mattered. The approval of our waiver that was happening at the time would have meant no quality PE program, no certified PE teacher directly interacting with the students in K through 5, O'Fallon District 90, for a minimum of 2 years with renewals for up to 4+ years. No one highly qualified to teach or inspire, motivate them to the life skills of physical activity, physical fitness, health, or to teach the social development skills acquired through team play. Unfortunately, this did not appear consistent with the Illinois State Board of Education mission and goal number 2, that every student be supported by highly prepared and effective teachers. We had excellent teachers and principals, but they were already overextended, and most were not extensively trained in PE, nor would all be effective at teaching PE, as it is a specialty. And they really realized through the process of this structured recess that they didn't really have the knowledge base, like you said. As you likely already know, it may appear like fun and games on the surface, and I myself was the fun and games person as the activity director, but actually there's a lot of planning, thought, and preparation that goes into a quality PE program, and the benefits, as you know, are very real. Eric, I'm going to have you speak, and this will be a question and answers. Eric, how old were you when you addressed the waiver?
I was 9 years of age.
And what school did you attend?
I attended Moy Elementary School, District 90, O'Fallon, Illinois.
At Moy Elementary, did you like your teachers, your principals, your friends in your school?
The answer to all of those questions is yes.
What is and was your favorite subject?
PE by far.
Why did you choose to speak and advocate for PE and oppose the waiver?
Children like myself and others need PE for a brighter and better future. We need to be able to learn how to keep ourselves fit, and it also helps in the classroom academically, as some of the other speakers have already stated.
How much PE and recess do you now have in junior high?
In junior high, I have one 10-minute period of recess daily and one approximately 57-minute period of PE daily.
Do you like your junior high teachers and administration?
Yes.
Do you like your current PE teacher, Mrs. Reinhardt?
Mrs. Reinhardt is awesome.
In 4th grade, was PE an offered subject?
No.
Why PE and physical activity is of value? What are your thoughts?
PE and physical activity can help you keep in shape and do things you like to do. Many children like to play sports or other activities that involve physical activity. They need PE to be able to stay in shape and be able to do those sports. Also, it is a nice break for the kids in school and something fun that they can look forward to school. School has no meaning if kids don't want to go.
And I think you recognize firsthand the cardio, the weight, the muscle and motor skills, the gross and fine, the skeletal development, the stress and behavior reduction, and the social and leadership skills and confidence, correct?
Yes.
Does PE affect academic performance and learning in the classroom?
It affects it greatly. PE can help your brain grow and refocus, which helps kids stay on topic while in the classroom. It can also help with behavioral problems. Behavioral problems are often a side effect of too much build-up stress. PE can help relieve stress and energy in children so they can behave better in the classroom and not distract others from learning.
Per the PE waiver, PE was to be replaced with structured recess. Who was teaching structured recess, and what did you do in structured recess?
Structured recess was taught by the classroom teachers, which in my opinion are very good at what they do, but have no real training for physical education. They would try to teach us exercises, but wouldn't know how to do them themselves, so therefore we would not know how to do them. As far as structured recess and what we did, we usually just ran around the track a couple times and then played on the playground. And that happened repeatedly every single time.
What did you used to do in PE?
In PE, we played a variety of games that kept kids wanting to go to PE. Some of these games involved holiday-themed obstacle courses, variations on tag involving physical activity, and gym variations of more well-known sports such as bowling and basketball.
Can you explain Mileage Club, which was an extracurricular activity done during recess, and also explain the Read and Run Marathon?
Mileage Club was a program where you ran around our school track, and for every time you ran around, you got a stamp. And you tried to get and if you got 25 stamps, or no, 15, sorry, you completed a card. And once you completed a card, you got a little plastic foot. And the goal was to collect as many feet as you can. As for the Read and Run Marathon, you had to read 26 books and then run 25 miles. And then the last mile, the whole school ran as a team around the school neighborhood.
Was Mrs. Eiskamp the first one to give you a mic to speak at an extracurricular activity?
Yes, she was. She gave me a mic when I was very young, I believe in 3rd grade.
Kindergarten.
to tell jokes in front of the school.
Eric, can you give us a first-hand account of the inspiration, motivation, leadership a trained and certified quality professional PE teacher can provide as it relates to health, physical fitness, personal and academic achievement? In other words, what did you think of Mrs. Eiskamp?
Mrs. Eiskamp was awesome. She taught me so many things. She gave me the skills needed for a good leader, and I believe that her physical activity helped me be able to be a better speaker, which can help me with my social and leadership skills. I also learned many other traits from her, including how to keep my body in shape, which lets me play many of the sports I play now.
Is Mrs. Eiskamp now reinstated back at Moy Elementary School?
Yes, she is.
Thank you, Eric. We'll put you back on later. Our support, we asked about our support. It was a team effort. Again, we only played a very small part. We had lots of support and weren't in a vacuum. How we were engaged, got involved, providing testimony. Proactively, we worked within and navigated the system, again with the help of others, to address and oppose the waiver and advocate for quality PE. Our initial involvement began in recess in second grade as we saw some reduction of recess and the effects of that. We addressed that, and in the process of addressing that, did some study. That's how we initially found out about the requirement for daily PE. We clearly were seeing the benefits of a quality PE teacher program and extras. And we were seeing at this point a potential loss of an inspiring teacher and programming. Again, the read and run marathon were important to Eric, and those were part of his engagement. Eric does tend to be very fit and athletic, and we recognize that not all kids may be that way, but Mrs. Eiskamp worked so well with all the kids regardless. Eric did decide based on his running to try a triathlon, just kind of for the fun of it. And he did quite well, actually winning for his age group. At that point, he kind of wanted to share that with Mrs. Eiskamp as she was part of that. When we did that, part of the conversation led to Mrs. Eiskamp gently communicating to us about the district board meeting, what was happening with the waiver, and the opportunity some might have to speak in public comment in opposition to the waiver. Eric decided he wanted to speak, and I did too, so we both spoke, and as you can tell, he's stronger at that than I am. We were given a letter inviting others to the board meeting, the district local board meeting, from Mrs. Eiskamp that we were able to forward and network through other people that we knew. Again, there was a lot of people there in opposition to the waiver, and we tried to increase that network base. We went and the waiver, unfortunately, in our opinion, was still approved at the board meeting. So we kind of decided at that point, when school started and the structured recess was happening, even though the waiver had not actually even been approved yet, we were seeing that negative impact, that repetitiveness, some drill and kill going on. So we decided to go further with it. And again, Mrs. Eiskamp and other people helped us navigate through these systems. So we approached the State Board of Education and spoke to them. And we spoke with the waiver compliance officer, Winnie Tuttle. We also spoke with Cynthia Reisman with American Federation of Teachers Union, and they really, again, helped us motivate or navigate through things. We spoke with Mark, Deb Vogel, many educators, a college professor, another PE teacher, Kay Calhoun, and physicians, child development specialists, other people in the community. We tried to do as much research as we could. We were helped to take the steps that we needed to for Eric to provide and be given permission to provide testimony as a representative of the Illinois State Board of Education. Then when it came time for that testimony, we actually found there was a conflict with a field trip he had that was to the Magic House, ironically, about civil responsibility. So we wrote a letter and asked if he could speak the day prior to the day actually available for public testimony, as they would be meeting at that time. After we spoke, along again with a coalition of many people who wrote and spoke at that time, the Illinois State Board of Education changed our waiver from a no comment recommendation to a recommendation that our waiver be denied. We sent the thank yous accordingly. From there, our waiver went to the House and Senate Education Committees. Again, we look for support to navigate to the system. We filled out the necessary forms for Eric to provide testimony, and we prepped. We studied who we were speaking to. We tried to do the research and be prepared, again, with lots of help from others. And he spoke again, and I have to say his speech was spot on, and it was prepared, and it was from his heart, and I think it was, he had a good case. After that happened, unfortunately, we were not able to get PE back for 4th grade because school had already started, but PE did return to the elementary schools in 5th grade. He has now moved on to 6th grade at the junior high. Some helpful tips for engaging parents. This is really what happened with us. So that was part of the process. To us, it was the little but important things. It was building a relationship, that partnership, the positive exposure, and the perception, and engaging parents in programs, all the things that I think many of you talked about. What we would say is recognize your strengths as a collective group of PE educators and health professionals. Be confident in your education and area of expertise. Many parents and kids are likely already supportive and in your court. My experience through the networking was that we were not the exception here. They're likely more supportive than you recognize. They see the benefits of PE ed possibly more clearly than even sometimes administration and even some of the educational peers. Most important, and it sounds like many of you are spot on here, provide an excellent, engaging, quality, and fun program with lots of variety for all the kids, not only the most athletically capable. My son would regularly come home and tell me how awesome PE was, how awesome his PE teacher was. He would share with me what was happening, and it was easy for me to see the benefit he was getting. You clearly care for our kids, and you work hard to provide the best programming you can. You have my respect. Be awesome, our PE teacher was. Look to parents that volunteer in the schools, the PTO, and outside the PTO. My husband and I volunteered actually quite a bit, but we weren't actually part of the PTO per se because the meetings were on a day we weren't able to attend. So those parents are out there too. Smile, acknowledge parents, they're part of the team. Eye contact, positive interactions, develop relationships, and also remember to speak our language. Sometimes we may or may not understand your acronyms. If I genuinely like you, I am more likely to support you and recognize that you have my child's best interest at heart. If it's apparent to me that you have a good relationship with administration and other classroom teachers, that helps as well. Attend orientations, award ceremonies, school events, and extracurricular activities as able. Take on some active roles. Exposure. I see you as being caring, active, and involved. If you need my support, don't be afraid to reach out and prompt us. Educate us, expose us to the challenges you might be facing. Invite us to that district school board meeting, forward a letter to us, but don't be too pushy. Allow us to choose to support these efforts. Approach us gently, see if we bite, and gauge if we might be supportive. This might be a little tricky, but that's okay. We realize that this might be political for you. I was in the political role as the fun and games lady as an activity director. We may also be concerned about speaking out. Are we overstepping our boundaries? We also want to maintain our good relationship with all at the school. We like the school. We just feel like more PE is needed. More importantly, we don't want to do something that might negatively impact our child. We also have some understanding of the pressures teachers, administration, and the board are facing and are empathetic about funding, testing, performing, etc. You talked about providing special events. Our teacher did that and actually was involved quite a bit. And yes, that is a strong outreach. She did the quotes, the small letters, and our teacher now does that too. If we want more resources, books, studies, inform us and guide us to those resources, but realize our strengths as parents are our real-life exposure and our experience with our kids, other kids, and what we see through their eyes. We might have a different, unique, fresh approach being on the outside, but also understand we are not perfect, polished in our efforts, and may make mistakes. Our understanding and that of the current climate culture situation may be limited. Also, we may view recess and unstructured play as important also, and we don't want to lose that either in the process of gaining PE. If we become engaged towards advocacy, help us navigate the system. Help provide us with the resources, educational, personal contacts, etc. Keep us informed. Also recognize that we might be self-motivated and will take initiatives accordingly. Enlighten me, clarify, listen, and point me in the right direction. Keep me informed. Eric, can you close?
As the world grows older and technology advances, it is sometimes easy to lose sight of how important a quality PE program is. But the truth is, our future is dependent on it. So get out there. Go teach.
Great. Thank you, Sandy and Eric. We appreciate having you today. So to
Thank
wrap up,
you. I hope we did okay.
We're great. Thank you. So to wrap up today's webinar, we will give everyone an opportunity to ask questions of our speakers. I know Martha had to leave, but the others are on. So if anyone has a few questions, you can go in and type them into the chat box, and we'll take those now. And after the next few minutes, we'll go ahead and end the webinar. So if you have a question, please go ahead and type it in, and we'll give you a few seconds to do so. All right, does anyone have any questions? Please go ahead and type them in. Okay, well, seeing none, I guess we will go ahead and conclude today's webinar. So thank you all so much for joining. We'd like to make a reference that this webinar was supported in part by the Chicago Community Trust and Blue Cross Blue Shield of Illinois, so thanks for their support. And everyone who will attend will see an evaluation pop up on your screen at the end of the webinar and be emailed to you after, and we'd appreciate your taking the time to answer 3 quick questions about today's webinar. Thank you so much, and have a great rest of your day.